Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Family Law Talk, presented by Kirk Stange of Stange Law Firm, PC. Stange Law Firm is a family law firm in the St. Louis metro area, with offices in Missouri and Illinois. Now, here's your host, Kirk Stange.
Welcome to Family Law Talk. This is Kirk Stange, and today we've got an interesting topic on Family Law Talk with Stange Law Firm. The title of the topic is Professional Courtesy in Family Law, and we'll get to that here in just a second, but I'll state, as I always do, that the choice of a lawyer is an important decision that should not be based solely upon advertisements, that the information you obtain today in this episode is general in nature, and it may not apply to specific factual or legal circumstance. Therefore, if you need legal advice, you should definitely consult an attorney who's licensed and competent to practice law in your specific jurisdiction. All right, so on to the topic itself. Again, the topic is professional courtesy in family law, and this is based on an article on familylawheadquarters.com, and there's a hyperlink below the episode here today that you can click on, which will actually take you to the episode, and the title of that article is Professional Courtesy Is Important, and the date of the blog article is March 7th, 2015. So definitely something you'll want to read as a follow-up today if this is an episode that interests you. But here's sort of the premise behind it. It's this, which is, in family law cases, parties oftentimes have hard feelings between the two of them. They're not happy with each other. Maybe there's a lot of emotions, and maybe they're not particularly getting along with each other. After all, a family law case, in many cases, is a divorce case or child custody case, child support, and there can be hard feelings between the parties. And as a result of these hard feelings, what lots of folks expect is that their attorney will, in essence, feel their pain, feel their anguish, and really become sort of angry and adversarial as a result of maybe their anger, their hard feelings that they're feeling. And so what a lot of folks are looking for is an attorney that will be ultra-aggressive, in a lot of ways acrimonious with the other attorney, and really sort of unfriendly, not polite, not courteous in really any standpoint. And so there's ways that this can kind of culminate themselves in a family law case. So let me give you a few examples of things that oftentimes come to fruition in family law cases, and then sort of what some clients' viewpoint in terms of how their attorney should respond to it can become an issue in the case. So let's take a court appearance where both the parties are maybe in the courtroom and both the attorneys are in the courtroom. It could be a trial. It could be a settlement conference or a pre-trial conference. I mean, you name it. It could be any number of different types of court dates. But what lots of folks expect is that their attorney will be mean and angry, will not shake the hand of the other attorney, will sit on the other side of the courtroom, in fact, not be polite, not be courteous. In other words, what lots of folks want their attorney to do is sort of, have their attorney visualize the other party as actually being, not a professional, not an attorney, but somebody who's maybe done something wrong, somebody who they ought to be hostile towards. So, versus reaching that hand out and shaking the other attorney's hand, they almost want their attorney, to refuse to do it. And in fact, versus greeting the other attorney with some sort of polite or kind words, they expect their attorney to be angry or hostile, sort of upset with the other attorney for even taking the case or being involved in the case. And certainly, lots of folks will expect that their attorney will not sit next to the other attorney, maybe not even sit in the same area with the other attorney, because after all, this is a litigated case, and they're looking for aggressive representation, sort of hostile representation. All right, so that's kind of scenario one, just to paint a few pictures for you in terms of what lots of clients expect in terms of professional courtesy. Let me give you another scenario as well. Let's say there's some sort of court date set in the case. Could be, again, a pretrial conference, settlement conference, trial. Could be really any number of different types of cases out there. But let's say opposing counsel has a scheduling conflict and they can't make it. Let's say opposing counsel has a personal matter that they have to attend to. It could be any number of personal matters out there. It can involve their family. It could be an illness type situation. Really, you name it. It could be a litany of things. Let's say opposing counsel's sick. In fact, they have an illness and they can't attend the court date. And then let's say they call your attorney and say, listen, I'm sick, I'm ill, or I have the scheduling conflict. Would you agree to continuance of the court date? And so that's kind of scenario 2. And this comes up in lots of cases. Opposing counsel has some sort of scheduling conflict or some personal matter, and they go to your attorney and ask if your attorney would agree to some sort of short continuance on the court date. And this, again, can come up, really a lot. And so, again, that's kind of a second scenario, to paint a different picture for you. And then, again, to sort of paint a slightly different picture, but sort of in the same vein again, picture again scenarios where both your attorneys are coming into the courtroom and they've got to sit down in the courtroom in order to wait to go back and speak to the judge, for example. Let's say the attorneys sit next to each other, actually, and begin conversing with each other. And that's kind of a third scenario, kind of a spin-off of the first one with the handshake, but again, kind of a similar thing. And, what a lot of folks expect their attorney to do, well, as you kind of go through it, some folks would expect that when the other attorney goes to shake your attorney's hand, that your attorney would refuse to do it. So lots of folks expect that. And in fact, they're disappointed when their attorney shakes the other attorney's hand. And again, this isn't necessarily the majority of people, but there's some folks that have this perspective. They would actually expect their attorney not to shake the opposing attorney's hand. Some folks would expect that when there's that scheduling conflict or the illness in opposing counsel's family, that their attorney would refuse to agree to any type of continuance. That they would reject any kind of courtesy and not agree to do it. And then certainly third, lots of folks would certainly hope and assume that their attorney would not sit next to the opposing counsel in the courtroom. They would, in fact, expect their attorney to sit on the opposite side of the courtroom from their attorney. And then there's a litany of other different things out there in terms of returning phone calls, responding to correspondence from the other attorney. Lots of folks would hope that their attorney wouldn't do any of that and would, in fact, maybe not return the phone calls, not respond to the correspondence in any capacity, in order for, really for their attorney not to be courteous to the opposing counsel. So, again, kind of contemplating this, thinking about this, the reality of the situation is professional courtesy is important in family law, and it's important in law in general. And so, kind of contrary to these notions that lots of clients have, the reality of the situation is this, that the legal field is still a profession, and certainly your attorney needs to zealously advocate for you and your interest. At the end of the day, you've hired this attorney. It's this attorney's job really to advocate for you, to make your case in court, to inform the court of your position, your perspective, your goals, your ambitions in terms of the case, really your concerns as relates to the case, and certainly your attorney should absolutely do that. They should be zealous advocates for you. They should be diligent about what they do in terms of advocating for you. But at the same token, courtesy is a good thing, and the courts actually expect attorneys to be courteous to one another. So, again, not shaking the opposing attorney's hand, really a mistake in most instances because, at some point, the attorneys are going to probably be talking about, potential settlement options. Well, if things have become so acrimonious between the attorneys that they're not able to do that, that can be a problem for you at the end of the day. Even if the case doesn't settle and you end up in a trial or an evidentiary hearing, it's a good thing if the attorneys can at least be civil about talking about evidence in terms of what evidence can be presented to the court. That way some of the stuff can be truncated. In lots of cases, the attorneys can agree that certain evidence is going to come in, and then there's certain evidence out there that's going to be in dispute that they'll have to bring up to the judge for the judge to make a determination on, but certainly they can agree on lots of different things. When you come to the continuances of court dates, obviously, an attorney has a duty to keep the case moving forward as expeditiously as possible, that there shouldn't be unreasonable delays out there. But at the end of the day, if there's an illness on the part of the other attorney or some pressing personal matter that the other attorney has in terms of their family, at the same time, if they have a scheduling conflict, which can happen inadvertently at times, most courts are going to expect that an attorney will be courteous to the other attorney. Certainly, no attorney should take advantage of that, ask for unnecessary continuances, needless continuances, delays that aren't justified. But if there's something justified there, courts are going to expect, in most instances, that the one attorney will be courteous to the other attorney. Certainly, in terms of court dates with attorneys sitting next to each other, obviously, two attorneys sitting next to each other, to some that can kind of seem like the attorneys are in cahoots with one another, but practically speaking, it's a good thing if the attorneys, again, are able to be civil with each other. They're able to discuss the case. At the end of the day, being able to discuss the case, the evidence that would be presented at a hearing is certainly a good thing and something that the court practically is going to really expect from the parties. So again, at the end of the day, the title of the article, deals with professional courtesy being important. Again, you want an attorney who's zealous, who advocates for you. Certainly, you want an attorney who's most interested in advocating your interests versus simply forming a friendship with opposing counsel, right? That's a concern, of many out there, which is a concern that maybe the attorneys are too friendly. But at the same time, being courteous isn't a bad thing. It's really a good thing. And as long as your attorney is advocating for you, being zealous, being diligent in advocating your interests, the fact that they're showing an element of courtesy to the opposing attorney is not a bad thing, and in fact, it's what the court would expect. And then, lots of family law cases, for example, courts get into apportionment of attorney fees. In other words, both attorneys have a bill. Court can look at the total bills of both attorneys and theoretically order one party to pay a portion of the other attorney's attorney fees. And the reality of the situation is, if one attorney wasn't showing any element of professional courtesy to the other attorney and that resulted in an increase in legal fees, for example, it could be a situation where this could actually have an adverse effect on the case. And then really past that, lots of courts will oftentimes assume that if one attorney is being totally discourteous to the other attorney, that in fact that might be a reflection of their client's feelings, right? So if one attorney refuses a continuance because the other attorney is sick or there's a family matter, a lot of judges might assume that the one attorney can't consent to the other attorney's request because they don't want to have their client angry with them. And so I think this can have an effect on parties as well as it relates to outcomes of cases in certain respects, because judges might assume, again, that you aren't, practically speaking, showing an element of courteousness to opposing counsel, which might mean that you weren't courteous to your spouse or the opposing party as well, and maybe this is the reason for the litigation. So it can really have a trickle-down effect. So again, I understand the family law cases are difficult, they're tough, people have hard feelings in a lot of these cases, but at the end of the day, courtesy is certainly a good thing so long as your attorney is advocating for you. So that's the topic here today. Again, we have an article that you can read as a follow-up on familylawheadquarters.com. Again, that article is called Professional Courtesy Is Important. The date of the article is March 7th, 2015. So thanks for all the listeners for tuning in today. Appreciate having you all on, listening to this topic. We'll see you next time on Family Law Talk with Stange Law Firm. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to Family Law Talk with Kirk Stange. Visit StangeLawFirm.com for more about today's topic, or to put Stange Law Firm to work for your family today.
Between aging and busy lifestyles, many women struggle with maintaining their physical and mental wellness. At Aquavita Concierge Healthcare Services for Women, we can help you revitalize your health and reclaim your life. We start from within by balancing your hormones, allowing your body to achieve and maintain desired weight goals. We also specialize in peptide therapies, regenerative medicine, sexual health, and aesthetics in our state-of-the-art facilities. Feel better, look better, live better at Aquavita. Visit aquavitality.com and begin your journey today.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.